All right, and now let's set up the structure for the rest of the pages. And since we'll be setting up single page application, arguably the most popular routing solution is by far React Router. And right before I started recording, what's really cool, they just released version 6. So we'll get to work with the latest goodies they have to offer. Now, since it's a intermediate course, my assumption is that you are already familiar with React Router basics. Essentially, you have used one of the previous versions, and therefore my main focus will be on the new setup, not the general idea. Also, if you want to find out more info on React Router, in the README you will find a link back to their docs, which I might utilize from time to time. And first, what we need to do is install these dependencies. So let me stop my server, and then we're going to go with the command. And this is the cool thing where now I can just copy and paste, install it. And then the setup is pretty much the same, where we want to import browser router. And let me start it up here. So let me go here with npm start. So I'm restarting my server. And like I said, setup is pretty much the same. We're still looking for a browser router, which is going to connect to browser's URL. But instead of switch, we're using routes component. So all of these are still components, but instead of switch, like we did in the version 5, for example, now we're using a routes component. And it really shines when we need to set up nested routing, which we're going to do because in the dashboard, actually we'll have pages. So not only we're going to have the homepage, which is going to be a dashboard, then register landing, and then the error page. In the dashboard, there's going to be a nested page structure. So there's going to be a stats, all jobs, and you can read the rest. And when it comes to nested routing, that's where the routes truly shines because it makes it very easy to set it up. And of course, there's also a route component. So that's where we specifically say, well, what is going to be the route for our page, and link, which we're going to use in the nav. Now, in our case, there's not going to be the main nav. As you can see, we have register, we have landing page, but the nav will be actually in the dashboard. So in the nested structure, that's when we will have the nav bar, not the entire nav bar for our application. Hopefully that makes sense. And first thing that I want to do is navigate to app.js. So we have successfully already installed React Router, correct? So we just need to go with import here. And now we're looking for, like I said, browser router. Then we want to get the routes, then the route component. And also I want to get the link because even though there's not going to be the main nav bar for our application, basically it's only going to be in a dashboard, I still want to showcase how the links work and all that. So temporarily, I'll also get the link component over here. And we're looking for a React router DOM. So that's where we're importing. And then let's right away set it up. So we still want to wrap our app component. So in here, we'll still going to go with browser router. Then we'll set up the routes. And then inside of the routes, this is where we want to set up route one by one. So each route, and then the props we're looking for are following. So in this version, they're looking for path. So that's going to be the URL path. If I navigate over here, notice again, if I log out, this is going to be the URL, and then / and then landing, correct? Again, domain, and then landing. Now, if I go to register, you can probably already guess that it's going to be a domain, and then / register. Now, if I navigate to a page that doesn't exist, for example, registers, then we'll display the error page. So let's set it up. We're in the app.js. I'm going to go with a route. And actually, in this project, dashboard will be my homepage. Now, there's many ways how we can set up. This is not the only way, but this is the one that I went with. So essentially, if the user is logged in, he or she right away goes to the dashboard, which is my homepage. But if the user is not logged in, then of course, we transfer the user to a landing, and then he or she can make their way to a register. So in here, I'm going to go with the route, then path, And since my dashboard is going to be homepage, I'm going to go with / that signals the homepage. And then we need to provide the element. Now, element could be pretty much anything, meaning we can provide the HTML right there in the element, or we can get the component. So I'll show you with manual approach where basically I'm just going to set up the div right here in the element prop. And then since we only have the landing one, that's the one we'll set it up actually as a proper component. So let's go over here. Let's say that this is going to be a div. And then inside of it, let's just type a dashboard like so. Then I'll close my route. Eventually, this is going to have a nested structure. So for timing, don't worry about it. But eventually, we'll place more pages inside of it. But for now, we'll just leave it the way it is. Then we'll copy and paste. And we want to set up 4 of them total. So this is going to be for a homepage. Then we want to have one for a register. And let's just change this around. Let's just say here register. And then the last one, I think the error one, I'll set it up as heading 1. Please keep in mind that, again, you can set up whatever JSX you want over here, as long as it follows the rules of JSX, of course. And then in here, let's go with landing. So that's / landing. And this is the case where we'll actually provide the component that we created. And of course, you can already guess that eventually this is going to be the case for all of them. This is not how we're going to set up our returns. So let's say here landing, and in this case, I actually don't need to even provide anything. I can just set up my landing, and I can actually self-close it as well. So let me set it up this way. And then the landing one, of course, I'm not going to use it anymore. And then I want to set up one for the error page. And the way we set it up for the error page in the React Router 6 is following, where we go with route, place it all the way in the bottom. And in here, since we want to catch all the routes that didn't match the previous ones, we're just going to use a star, and same deal. We use some kind of element. Now, we'll start with just a div, but like I keep saying, eventually there's going to be more pages. So for now, let's just change this around, and let's say heading 1, and we're going to be looking for the error. Now, we'll set up that temp navbar in the next video. For now, I'm just going to show you how the navigation is going to look like when we're using the URL bar. So let me go to the big screen. I'm going to go with localhost 3000 now. This is going to be my dashboard. Why? Well, because that's our homepage, correct? Now, if I'm going to go with / and then if I type register, what do you know? Now I see register. Now, if I'm going to go here and if I'm going to type landing, you can probably already guess that we'll have our proper page. Awesome. And then lastly, if I go to landings, which is not a page, and at the moment I have empty screen. Weird. So let me double check. Yeah, of course, I'm missing here the star. So let me remove, and we need to add the star. So now you can see what happens if we don't do that. And here we have properly error. And we're pretty much done. And before we start setting up the temporary navigation, just so you can see how the link component works, let me change back the image. So at the moment I'm using the alternative one, but I think I want to go with my main one. So back in landing, instead of alternative, we're just going to remove, and I'm back to my initial image.